Talk Radio.
If we go right back to the start, would we end right back to the dark? Even though we tried 1,000 times, would we ever get it right? I guess not. But I climb up every mountain just to find ya. A promise is a promise, never leave ya. Never thought you'd be the one to deceive me, no, no. Now you left me here without ya. Ashes to ashes, we turn to dust, yeah. I love you until we lost it. You and me went from being us to memories of us. If living is without you, I don't wanna know. If living is without you, I can't let you go. If living is without you, I don't wanna know. No, no. No, no, no. No, no, no.
What's going on? You have tuned in to another episode of On the Move Unscripted with Patricia M. Goins. And this is on purpose. This is On the Move Unscripted on purpose with my ladies in the house. What's going on? Is that Amarie on the line?
That is Amarie on the line. Happy Thursday, ladies.
Happy Thursday. You know, I'm so proud of myself, Marie, because I actually said Marie and not just Marie. So I really feel proud.
I don't know what to do. I can't believe it.
So how has your week been, Boo Bear?
My week has been pretty good. I'm trying to slow down on work. You know, the problem with being a workaholic, because I've been one for so long, I'm trying to slow down so that I can balance my life. So that's my struggle. But besides that, it's been wonderful. I'm having a wonderful time re-knowing my friend. Here we are years later in our going in the seasoning years. And it has been absolutely fantastic. It's been fantastic. I'm happy.
Oh, now I can hear that happiness all in your voice, Mama Sita. You know what? I know if it wasn't last episode, it was a couple episodes. You was talking about moving, right? You was saying that you was looking for a place to move to, and so I followed this prophetess on Facebook. Her name is Tracy Quintana. And so it's just so crazy because I was just kind of rolling through, because I've been thinking about moving as well. So I'm strolling through, and I see this post she just did today. And it says, I just heard this. And then she says, it's time to move. Go look for your new house. God said he'll provide all you need. And I'm just like, okay, that was an on-time word because I know you've been talking about moving, and I've been thinking about moving. So, yeah, that's an on-time word. I hope that you're able to receive that because I sure did.
Yes. And although I still have anxiety, because I've been in the same place for 23 years, and it's crazy because a lot of my friends, including yourself, are like, Maria, you're never going to leave. You're never going to leave. And, what's crazier is that I never thought my grandmother would ever pass on. I didn't think that she would transition. I thought we would just live together forever in harmony, within the hood of our capacity. But since that did not happen that way, it's just
your
like
grandmother was the most beautiful person in the freaking world. If anybody ever got a chance to meet Amarie's grandmother, I'm like, there was not a judgmental bone in her body. She just had love for every freaking body. Yeah, I miss her. Yeah.
I do too. But I'm hoping that I can live my life right. That you can see her through me. I'm trying to transition into the next phase of my life. What's crazy is my boo.
You breaking up a little bit. I didn't hear what you're saying. Say it again.
Can't hear me very well.
You breaking up a little bit. Maybe move to a different.
What about now?
I can hear you better now.
Okay. Like, let me move. I said, although I've had the time of my life with my friend, for these past almost going on a couple months, I told him about my.
Already?
Well, I know what's coming up on the second month. It was a month, and I didn't even know because I don't keep track of that. I never usually just stay in a relationship past 30 days. You know me. And it's not even me. Sometimes people be like, oh, I love a woman at work. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I love you at work. Oh, yeah, we're going to work out well. And then they realize, like, oh, I don't just work. I work. Like, I get it. I get it. But, getting older, I shouldn't have to, I'm fine. I'm coming to my 20s session. I become more relaxed. So, I've been thinking about.
We're having an unscripted moment. Are you moving around?
I was.
I need you to find the best reception area and sit down.
Can you not hear me?
It's like
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Mm-hmm. You know how these phone things work.
Yes, and I be thinking, I was like, I need to get me a little headpiece with a mic or something like that so I can maneuver around. But I guess, when you're moving, if the reception is just not going to be good. So, okay. But anywho, yeah, I mean, he offered, he asked me if I wanted to come stay with him, and I'm like, well, my grandson. He's like, well, you and him. And even though I know him and I've known him for decades, and being friends, I feel like after spending 23 years in my residence, and this was like a crutch for me because I got so comfortable, and I moved here directly after my separation, going into divorce with my husband of 16 years. So it's like I jumped from one ship directly onto another ship. I never, ever decided to surf, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So now, as tempting as it sounds, to me a couple of months is not long enough for you to come live with me. It's just not. Because the first time I was
You're
like,
not ready for that.
I'm not. I need to know that I can be out on my own. On my own. Because I've always had the crutch of Mary Lou, and I held on to it very, very tight. You know, and I feel in the street. I feel in the same street on the same block, and but and, and
You breaking up again. You breaking up again.
I don't know what's right. I don't know if this is your fault. Anywho, I decided that I'm just going to get my. Can you hear me?
I heard that.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, a long story short, because I get all into it, get full details. But long story short, I decided to move into my own place, at least for a year.
Okay.
One that gives us time to develop better in a relationship. And right now we're great, but I don't want to move too fast. And for two, I still have my grandson, and his whole life he's lived with me, and never has he lived with me and a man. So I definitely had to keep that under consideration. But yeah. So besides that, that's been cool. How has your week been? And I truly apologize. I honestly forgot about the showcase this week, and since I've been catching up with paperwork, I haven't really been on Facebook. Even though I never really get on Facebook, I said I'm at least start looking once a day for 30 minutes. I'm gonna try use the timer. So how is that going? Because I've actually told several aspiring rap artists and poets and stuff about the showcase that you have when you're with Brian, and also talking about your showcase because I thought you told me that you might do it every Tuesday. So I meant to get back with you. So can you give me a little insight?
All right. So you already know, like, when I was doing the showcases in Chicago, and when I did it, I didn't really do a lot of showcases in Atlanta, but I did have events in Atlanta. So my showcases in Chicago, right off the bat, it was like boom, it was popping. You know what I'm saying? But Chicago is that fertile ground for independent artists, and plus I knew people there who were already well mixed into the movement, so they were able to tell their fans and all that kind of stuff. So that was the bomb. Atlanta, of course, anything artistic is going to flow, and I already had a nice following in Atlanta, so every event that I did, it was packed. You know what I'm saying? Columbus is a whole different species. So it's starting a little slow because, for one, I've been gone for almost on and off. Really, I've been gone for 16 years straight from Columbus. And when I did live here, like before I moved 20 years ago, Columbus was not a place where independent artists was doing anything like this. So I think that with us coming here, it's going to take time, and it's definitely word of mouth. So the first week that we came, we had the bomb diggity artists. We only had one artist come. It was probably about 20 people showed up as far as the whole venue, and one of them was an artist, and he performed, did what he got to do. They performed, they did what they had to do, and they were the bomb diggity. Their name is Humble Hustle. That's the name of the group. And then the artist, in particular, his name is Humble Money, and they have a song called King that I've been promoting, and they're going to be coming on Move Unscripted, I believe, the 23rd of September. So anyway, the first one, we had one artist come, and it was the bomb diggity. The second, last week, we had two artists come. However, I don't know what it is. Like, it's like you got to retrain their minds or something. I don't know. So the one artist came from out of Cleveland, Ohio, but it wasn't. And he registered. He paid to register, and he had his music played in the lounge, but he didn't want to perform because he felt like it wasn't enough people. And I'm just like, but we're doing this live. I said, this is Facebook Live. I said, we're internet-based, so it's Facebook Live, and you'll get the opportunity to, to get on the, be on iHeartRadio, this, that, and the other. If you get an interview, if you win, this, that, and the other. But he was just like, I'm already known in Cleveland, you know what I'm saying? and I get paid to perform in Cleveland. I said, well, this is Columbus. And I said, and maybe you're known in Cleveland, but you're not. That doesn't mean that you're known all over. So this is an opportunity to, for you to be known, and outside of Ohio. But he was just like,
you don't sound that humble to me.
no, that wasn't his art. That wasn't that artist. This artist's name was Cap 2 Times. So Cap 2 Times, and not only that, but he came with some people, and the people that he came with, the girls and stuff, they was just like, I don't want to stay. I'm like, what posse you bring with you that doesn't want to support you to perform? Like, you didn't pay to register, you didn't came and said what you had to say on Spreaker.com, but you don't want to perform, like, you don't believe in yourself enough to perform, like for real, oh, you know what I'm saying, I get paid. Oh, I ain't never heard of you before.
I'm not playing.
I'm like, so
he's not heard of you, so you're gonna have to actually prove yourself out here. And not only that, you're getting all this free exposure. You never know who could be listening. Like, who is Cap 2 Times?
Right. He was just like, he wasn't trying to. He didn't want to perform. He just wanted to hear his music play in the lounge on the loudspeaker, and then him and his unhappy posse roll out. So then the other artist, he wanted to perform, but he didn't want to pay the registration fee. And I was just like, listen, it's only $10, and if you win, you get your money back. I said, not only that, but we'll promote you and this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? I just want to perform. I don't want to, I just want to perform. So I was like, okay, all right, then I'm going to let you perform. I said, but you're not going to get all the other things that comes with performing because you didn't want to invest that $10. So he performs. The first guy leaves, so that would have made him automatically the winner, but he didn't get the win because he didn't want to invest $10 freaking dollars.
Like, no, this is for registered applicants. You wanted to perform. Now, see, you could have had $20. You know what I'm saying? Plus all this extra stuff, or however much money was in the pot. You could have had.
He was going to get his registration fee back. So basically, he would have got a week of free promotion on social media. And you know how I am on social media. People be saying I'm like a virus. I be all over the place with the different, artists and this, that, and the other. And he would have gotten an exclusive interview on Move Unscripted. We would have did a lot of promotion and stuff for him, his music video, all that kind of stuff. But he didn't want to let go of $10. He said, this is for my food. I said, okay. And so then when the other guy forfeited by leaving, I told him after he performed and did his thing, I said, you see there? I said, you didn't want to invest in yourself. You didn't want to spend $10 on yourself, which now you can see in hindsight you would have got that $10 back, but you didn't want to do that. And so now you have forfeited an opportunity that you don't know where it could have led to because the music was good. His name was Sauce. And I'm just like, he had good music. So that's the challenge with, promoting and getting these artists to understand that you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And you never know what one open door might lead to. Like, you can't look at an opportunity and say, oh, that ain't going nowhere. How do you know? How do you know who's going to see you? This is the Internet. This is worldwide. We got listeners in Russia and Germany and all these different countries, including the United States.
Let's not forget to buy.
Girl. Right. I don't know. He might still be mad at me.
You know what? I think he's listening. If he's in Dubai, like he's military in Dubai, be careful. Choose your words careful. I don't think he was in the military as long as him, Trish. Yeah, fight down.
I got nothing but love for you, baby. I don't know if Kim is going to be on tonight because she is in Memphis. Have you ever been to Memphis?
I have. I almost left my husband there and stayed. Like, woo! When I tell you, I mean, now you got your Memphis. With the Memphis, these guys, me and my husband got the true story. And this was too close towards the end of our marriage. We didn't got into it because his brother used to stay in Memphis. So we were going through there. When he decided to call his brother, we stopped by. So on our way there, we're arguing. I mean, I can't remember what the argument was about, but we come to this carry out. He was like, well, I say you what? find your own ride to his house, and this was way before GPS. You need a TomTom, which is already in your car. And so I'm like,
wow.
oh my God, you just left me in the middle. And right when we were arguing, a truck pulled up, and it was like two guys and a teenage boy get out the truck, and they hear us arguing, and they heard Daryl tell me to find my own ride, and he pulls out, and I guess he's driving away like I was gonna say something, but I'm just staring blankly like, wow. I've been married to him for 12, well, at this point it's like 13, 14 years. I can't believe he would just leave me in the middle of a city and state I've never been to. When I tell you,
he really
I went
left
there,
you for real? Did he come back and get you?
I honestly think he looked through his rearview mirror and saw those two men talking to me. And, you hear him peel off around the corners. I think he did like a 4-corner turn and came back and got me. I mean, because the guy was like, ma'am, I don't mean to interfere, but I heard that feller telling you to find your own ways. Are you from around here? Like, I am not from here. I don't know anything about Memphis. And he took his hat off, and he was just such a sweetheart with his cowboy boots on. I'm like, oh, this is my husband. Why am I with that dude? I'm telling you, the Southern hospitality is amazing. The only thing I didn't really like about it, I mean, I appreciate all music, but what's big in country there. And it's just like a lot of dirt roads, and I don't know. I guess after living in the rural areas, living in the suburban areas, living in the city, living in the country, I'm more of a metropolitan type chick. I love the silence and the quietness and that feeling of the country, but I don't necessarily like all that. I like being able to go to a store right around the corner, because it's
right.
At least to carry out. I don't want to drive 4 or 5 miles to get to a store. That's not
right.
That's not true. Maybe if I grew up in the suburbs where store stuff just wasn't around the residential areas, I would be more adapted to that. But since I haven't and I wasn't, I'm not. And when I lived at one time, I was very miserable because it was extremely inconvenient.
Atlanta's kind of like that, too. Like, you have to have a car in Atlanta. Chicago is kind of like, Chicago is like Ohio, where you can get anywhere. In all honesty, in Chicago, you don't even need a car. You can literally get anywhere on the bus or train to go wherever you need to go. Atlanta, you better have a freaking car.
And also in Chicago, just coming down to visit you in Chicago, if you're not used to driving around Chicago, I thought people drove fast in Ohio like, oh, this is crazy. And you could do U-turns just about on every street like, oh, yeah, this is off the chain. I got to get back where there's some sanity and law on the road, because there was none. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not driving. I'm not. I can't. I get way too out of control for this type of stuff. I'm not built for this. That's
what? You have been rolling with. People really need to understand. Like, you may not understand. I have a relationship with the other ladies that are on the show, but you and I go way back. You've been on this journey with me since freaking high school. You've been rolling with me for a while now. Like,
it's crazy because. You were there for me, happy for me when I got married. Even though we kind of separated, we did high school together. And then I took the alternative route. I wanted out that house with too many kids in the house. Too many kids. So you went off to college, I went and got married. And then when college, you got tired, you went to the military. You went to college first, then you went to the military.
I went to Central State first, because remember, you used to come up there looking for me, and I was never being in the damn dorm room, so you became friends with me. You became friends with my roommate.
On Blog Talk Radio. I used to go to Central State so much. Now, mind you, I had a couple kids. So I'm paying for babysitters. We done made plans. This was before the free access to emails and computers. And, the computers was just coming out, and they weren't that good. So, this was like making phone calls, actually answering the phone. This was even before the pages, even before you got to hit me on the hip. This was
right.
it was wild. So we depended on letters and we depended on phone calls. So when my friend told, "Oh, girl, yeah, I'm gonna be here, I ain't got nothing to do," me and my boyfriend broke up. Like, all right, well, I'll be there for the weekend. I done worked hard. I done paid for a weekend babysitter. I went down. I saw her. I didn't really get to I only made contact. Did I ever make contact with you? I think a couple times.
Did we make?
The crazy thing is, she had a roommate named Michelle. And I came down there so much. I'm like, oh my God, she's not here. Like, I don't know where she is. I'm like, wow, do you know if she's coming back tonight? She was like, not, it's a Friday. Like, I'm like, well, I'm driving in from Columbus, so I'm going to have to stay in her bed. And what's going on campus? So I'm like, so who are you? So, I sat, talked to the girl. We became very close. So when I did finally catch up with Trisha, we were like, she was like, oh, Marie. I'm like, hey, Shell. And Trisha looking like, how you know her? Like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? All the time, you ducked out on me, falling all up in love with your dude. I needed a place to stay. Me and her got to talking, found out she had a kid. So we sat, we chilled, we talked. Like, oh, okay. Showed me around campus. Yep. I even jumped on the Wilbur. I was there so much, the Wilbur guy
Me and Brian love, because Brian, the comedian that I'm with on Mondays. He went to Central State too, and so we were talking about Wilbur, and he was like, "Yeah, Wilbur used to let the girls on the bus for free to go into town, but the guys had to pay." I don't remember that, but Wilbur was funny. Wilbur had a school bus, and he would drive because Central State and Wilberforce University are like right down the street from each other. So he would go to Wilberforce, pick up all the students there. Then he'd go to Central State, pick up all the students there. And he'd take us into town to Xenia whenever we need to go shopping. Or if we had like a party outside of, Xenia that we was going to, whatever. He was the transportation. He was so funny. He was an older guy, little fat stomach. He was like, come on, boy, come on. Yeah, that was the days. Huh?
Yes, they were.
Central State was fun back then. It's unfortunate that I did not study the way I should have, but I was like so. See, this is why I was so sheltered. This is why you don't keep your kids captive in the house and don't let them experience life before they hit, 18. You gotta let them. You gotta give them some kind of leeway. My grandmother was strict. She wasn't playing them kind of games. She was not. So when I got to Central State, it was like, oh snap, party over here, and unfortunately, I partied more than I studied. I really did. That wasn't If I had to do it all over again, I promise you, I would have graduated. But that's how it is when you keep your kids sheltered, and when they get out, and it's like you turn them into the Wild West. What did you say? I went to Central State like Laura Ingalls and came back like Olivia Newton-John when she in that movie Grease.
Yes, you were like, oh my gosh.
I came back with one side of my head shaved and everything. I wasn't playing. So then our journey took us to California. Your husband was stationed in, was it 29 Palms?
First, he was stationed in Camp Pendleton, and then the area where he was at, they shut down, and then we were stationed in 29 Palms. Now, anytime you hear about California, you thinking the ocean, the surfing, the beaches. Let me tell you about 29 Palms, because it's none of that. This is the desert. The desert.
Yeah. It's not like what people, right. Even where I was in Monterey, you think, like you said, California be hot, beautiful, sunshine beaches.
Yeah, because I told you like,
oh,
you don't need no jacket.
That's crazy. And then after that, we ended up coming back home. This is a period of time when we was back home in Ohio together. And I often talk about, the client that you and I shared. I often talk about that because that was like a very that was a deep time for both of us. I was a new nurse. At that time, you were age. You hadn't become a nurse yet, and we were taking care of him. And the love that we developed for him was like like our little brother. I tell people that. Remember, and when he passed away, that was like devastating for both you and I. Do you remember that night?
Oh my God! I called you. I called you right after I
Yes.
called 911. I called you. I was the very first time a client passed away on me, and I was in the process. And it's like I'm convinced that when people are passing, that they know. I think when it's time to their final moments, they know because he started choking and he just drank some water. He asked for a glass of water. We were watching Def Comedy Jam. I was in there cleaning the kitchen. He asked for a glass, and I heard him choking. So I'm like, hey, you all right in there? And he's choking more and more and more. And, I come in there, and he's, like, choking us, and then I'm seeing his color change, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. So I'm trying to do CPR, and I had to remember, like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to get him off the bed. I'm just, when something like that hits you, you truly have to really mentally be prepared, So then, I called 911, and then I started, and I called you.
Mm-hmm.
I
jumped in my car like a bat out of hell, going 95 down to 35. You know what I'm saying? That was, and we didn't expect him to pass for some reason because our relationship with him was so close. Even though he probably had passed at the house. But they took him to the hospital, and you and I jumped in our car, and I know for myself, I did not believe that he would. The thought of him actually dying did not enter my spirit. I just thought, okay, he's going back into the hospital. You know what I'm saying? It was like I didn't expect him to die. So when that nurse came out and she asked us what happened, I'm like, oh, okay, let's just tell him what happened, and they'll fix him up and he'll be okay.
Right. So after she sat there and listened to my whole story, and we were like, okay, well, can we see him? And then she was like, I'm sorry, he didn't make it. And I think she had prior to that because the shock. And I think she knew, now being a nurse, if you need to get as much information as you can, even if it means, kind of holding back, what's really going on in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like to the death, while I'm doing CPR, then he started foaming at the mouth, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, so I'm like, and then it's like, I'm crying. Then I hear, then he just sits up. He, I set him up, he sat up, and then he hugged me. And well, he sat up.
Oh.
He looked at me. He like grabbed my shoulders. I'm frantic. Then I stopped. I mean, enough to like shake me where I'm looking dead at him. He looked at me and he shook his head, and then he held me. And then I heard the paramedics come in, like somebody called. I'm like, and right as I'm standing in the back, I feel his arms slumping down, and that was just it. That was like one of the worst times of my life. That was one of the worst times. And they tell you don't become attached to your clients. It has to stay business. And sometimes, I mean, and even as a nurse, that's not that easy. If you've had a client for years, is they're a daily part of your life, or at least a weekday part of your life. They're part of your work life.
Especially home health. Especially home health.
Yeah. Now, in hospitals, most people are not there no more at the very worst about a week or two, with the exception of this corona and a couple other illnesses. They're not usually in the hospital long. But when you go to their home and you gone there and you're meeting family members, I mean, you're kind of like a little family, and they tell you, well, don't get close. And as a nurse, you're not in there as long as CNA or aide, but you're still caring for this person. You're still talking to this person. I mean, not everybody. You do have. I mean, everybody has their own personality. Now, as an aide, it's different. I mean, to me, it's different because I've lost a couple clients as a nurse, and it was hurtful. Like, man, I this one was a part of my life, but as an aide, especially with our client, I saw him 4 hours in the morning, and 3 hours in the evening. I got him up, got him dressed, got him ready for the day, got him undressed, fed him, all that, got him ready for the night. So it's different because
yeah, it is. It is.
I'm spending 7 hours a day with this man every single day.
And I'm coming in every day as the nurse to do his care. I think at that time I was just coming once a day. I don't think it was more. I don't know if it was once a day or twice a day, but I know I was coming at least once a day. So it's like we were his. He was living with family, but we were his family. Like he really took to us. And it's funny. Do you remember before because he was in the hospital before he passed away? He was in the hospital, that period of time. And remember, he was saying that he had a visitation. If you remember, I don't know if you remember, but he was saying that, or I think either you told me or he told me that he had a dream that his deceased mother and his sister had came to see him in the hospital. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
and
he
his
said
grandmother.
There's a lot of doctors standing around him and people that he knew and doctors and Dr. Jack. Because he said my grandmother was there, my sister was there, my mother was there. Everybody he named were deceased. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And said doctors. He said, and they were like, come on. He's like, no. He said, because if you remember, they did not discharge him. That's his medical advice. So he signed out. He told him, I don't want to stay here. He said, if I'm going to die, I'd rather die at my house. I don't want to be in no hospital. I don't want to die in a hospital. So, I mean, to me, that's another indication. Like, I mean, people, they say, now I don't know how true it is, but people do say that when you're dying, people that you loved and you cared about, are there to meet and greet you. That's what
I believe it. I believe it. I remember we mourned. You and I. We were both married at this point. You were married and I was married, and we could not get ourselves together for a long time. Like we cried and mourned so long that our husbands. I think they got jealous.
They were jealous of a man that was recently deceased. I'm like, and my husband was like, well, you must have been doing this. I'm like, I took care of this man. And he was younger than me. I'm like, I took care of this young man. He was like my little brother's age. I'm like, and
we were in our 20s at that time too.
We were,
We were in our,
I could tell I was 28. He was 24. So it was hard. But it was like I had made so much progress because when I first met him, he was quiet. He was like, oh, you could just cook, you can just put my clothes out, you can leave, you don't gotta wash me up. I'm like, whoa. Type of age do you think I ain't? Dare you? And then, I'm a talker. And I'm a friendly person. So I can't sit in your house for 7 hours in a day and we don't speak. So the A's usually sit in the front room and watch TV. Like, no. I could do that at home. And really, I couldn't because I had kids at home. There was just so I would ask him a few questions, and I would, until the point where we became pretty close. He felt comfortable enough to open up, and then he told me like, you one of the first A's that I had that really showed that you cared. I'm like, because I'm taking care of somebody. Like I don't understand how you can go in someone's house to take care of them and to give them the best care that you could possibly give and show compassion because you're not understanding what's going on with them. And, and yeah, you're getting paid for it, but, I know you're not getting paid to be their friend, but, like, you don't even want to converse with them. You just go over here.
Yeah, everybody.
And it's sad because there are aides like that. There are nurses like that.
Everybody that's in the medical field don't need to be there. Everybody in the medical field does not need to be there.
In this field for the money because it is decent money. So there's a lot of people in the side. I've heard nurses say, oh, I don't want that client. I don't get enough money for that. I don't get paid enough money to just go there once or twice a week. That's no money. And if that's how you feel, there's no judgment. But I've heard nurses say it in front of clients or within clients' ear range, and I've had to let them know, like, you know what? Your decision is your decision. That's cool. But understand, the person you're talking about, they can hear you. I'm like, and, even if you don't care about their feelings, you need to keep in consideration their feelings. Because how would you like that if your life suddenly changed and it happened to you?
Right. And you know what? I don't know about you, but for me, I didn't start to get over my mourning of him and my mourning, the suffering or whatever, until he visited me in a dream. People, I think it was at that point that I really believed in my heart there is a heaven that, and that this is a place where there is not suffering, there is not, pain and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a place of joy and happiness, and the vision of that dream is still vivid in my head as if I had just dreamed it yesterday. I mean, I remember going up in the clouds. I remember, all of a sudden I was in this beautiful. When I say the park was beautiful, like Amarie, this park was like the most vivid colors. The grass was, the trees were so green, the grass was so green, the flowers, the violet pinks and blues. It was just like beautiful. The sunlight, like HD to its best ability. And he came, and I walked over to a bench, and he came over to me. And when he came over to me, you remember when we took care of him, he was very frail, very slender, very weak. But when he came to me, he was standing up. He was thick. He was, I knew it was him because of his face, but his body, the way he looked, it was like how he probably looked before, he ever became sick or disabled or whatever. Like I could see in the smile on his face. And that has been a story that I have told to so many different people, because there are a lot of people who have a hard time with when someone passes. Imagine all the people who have lost their loved ones during COVID-19, unexpectedly, or through, like what's going on with the social injustice and these people that are getting killed, and the family never expected it. When a person leaves, you don't expect that you're never going to see them again. And so that grief sometimes can take a hold of you. But so I used to tell this story to different people who I knew were grieving, to let them know you can be at peace with this, because the person that you love is in a better place. We're still here, and we mourn that they're not here anymore, but they are in a better place. I don't know what helped you get over that grief, but that's what helped me. What do you think helped you?
Well, with me, it just took time because I was broken. I mean, I literally, I'm like, when his arms slung down, I can literally, imagine him taking his absolute last live breath. And the fact that they could not, I'm like, he had just slipped out as they were coming through the door. So I'm like, I cannot believe, and they had to put me out the room because I was just in the way. I was too frantic, and one one EMS driver gave me to the other EMS driver that gave me to the other one, gave me to the lady EMS driver that pushed me towards the hall. Like, okay. I wasn't prepared for that. And it's crazy because they don't teach you that when you're going into home health. They don't teach you that. I mean, they tell you like the steps, but they don't tell you the emotional aspect of what goes down. They don't.
We actually have someone who has joined the conversation, so let me bring them in. I don't know if this is one of our ladies or a guest, so let me invite them. So, caller, your number is 313.
You know the 313 is me.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Amarie. What's up?
What's going on, Dr. Amarie?
Right on time. What's going on?
She didn't go up that motorcycle.
Yeah, patient calls that ran a little bit late tonight, but they made me work for my money today. I'm all right with that.
Yep.
They don't always make me work. I'm glad I'm working now. What's up?
Amen. So how was your week? How was your week, Dr. Amarie?
Man, my week has been a crazy roller coaster ride. Y'all, let me tell you. Monday and Tuesday, I was sick. I wasn't feeling good at all. First thing everybody think is COVID. Well, hell, that's the first thing I thought when I started getting sick. I said, oh, no, this is done gone wrong. The heck? But then I realized it was all sinus pressure. And so I checked
You
the weather
can't even cough nowadays, Dr. Amarie. It's like coughing didn't exist before COVID-19. The minute you let a cough escape your mouth, everybody looking at you like you got the plague. Like nobody was ever coughing before March 2020. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let alone
and they may be like, you cool? Or they might even jump in the stands like, I swear to God, if one droplet hit my area, I'm swinging.
That's the world we live in. So Monday and Tuesday I was down, but then I got my sea moss Tuesday night and started taking that sea moss, and almost immediately, I feel within 20, 30 minutes, I felt good. I feel energy. I'm like, okay, I should have been. I take sea moss every day. A teaspoon to 2 teaspoons a day, but I had to bump it up to a tablespoon.
What is the purpose for it?
The sea moss is it has a lot of the different aminos and vitamins that you need, down to some of the microvitamins.
Okay.
And so it helps with immunity. That's the purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just another immune booster. And
so
I tell you what, it fought off them allergies, because ragweed is very high in North Carolina this week. I mean, that's my kryptonite.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So first 2 days my system was going crazy, but now I'm good. Other than that, I've been working. Like I said, I'm grateful. Just my forensic work has been crazy. People just doing crazy shit, and still. You figure, y'all need to go sit down somewhere, because they're just doing crazy stuff. Just chilling, trying to let go of I got to let go of some weight. Some people in my life that don't add value, more specifically some, a male species. But I don't know.
I think every so often you need to do an evaluation of your circle. You know what I'm saying? I was just telling Amarie before earlier in the show that one of the artists came with people who did not support him. You know what I'm saying? Like it was they basically I'm like, come on, performing only takes you 4 minutes. Your song ain't never 4 minutes long, And they was like, we want to go, we gotta go.
Oh,
I'm
geez.
like, are you for real? Like, is this the posse you rolling with? Yeah, you gotta evaluate your circle.
Yeah, that's very important, because he doesn't even realize that somebody could have saw him or heard something. It's sad that he allowed his support system to. Well, actually, he bought it on himself. But when you bring people down to support you and they're not doing that, then that really lowers your, your confidence level drop a little bit, or you think I thought I was gonna get paid. I normally get paid. Okay, sometimes you got to do stuff for free, or you have to pay your application fee and put yourself out there. I could see you demanding money if I knew you. I never heard of you. So you're not that big, and even if you could pack your stadiums. Say you could pack your stadiums on the weekend in Cleveland, where you from. Can you pack them same stadiums, say, on a Wednesday or a Tuesday? If not, then you're not that big. Humble yourself.
Or can you pack it in another city, in Columbus, in Cincinnati, in Atlanta, in Chicago? If you can't pack us, if you're not, your name ain't known like that, then like you said, humble yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, always be tripping me out. I'm popping. You popping for who? Your family and your friend, your homeboys? Who are you popping for? Who are you popping for? So you are letting go of some dead weight, Dr. Amarie. You're making
some people that don't add value to my life. You know, if you're taking away more value than you add, it's just time to go. You in the negative. Time to go.
Right.
Time to go.
Right. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
It's just in my nature. I'm going to give more than what I take, but when you start, you got a deficit. You got to. This ain't working.
So, me and Amarie was basically kind of talking about our experiences. We were taking a ride down memory lane because we've known each other for 30, 40 years now. But so our bus stopped at our medical experience together, and we were talking about how, there are a lot of people in the medical field who really do not need to be there. Like, they are literally only there for the check, and you can tell by the way that they care for the patients and stuff. So I know with you being a psychologist, I'm curious, have you ever in your area, have you ever seen some psychologist that you feel like I don't care how many years you went to school, you should have chose something else because you don't know how to deal with people? Like, have you ever experienced that or felt like some people within your industry, part of the don't need to be there?
Man, listen here. I got stories after stories of that. There's so many people across disciplines. It was usually, and I've been in the field over 20 years, and so usually I'm on the outside of what should be done. People, my opinion is just a lot different. I have a different viewpoint on how to care for people and how to love and nurture people as they're moving towards healing. And most people want to run, I'm not going to say most, some people in the profession, whether it be psychologists or medical professionals or otherwise, they want to run their own program. And that's the biggest problem that I find. And in them wanting to run their own program, they mistreat people because they're not meeting the people where they are. Oh, well, they should hurry up and get over this, or they should do this way, or this is why their life is a mess, or this is why they're in here now. All of that judgment that comes out, and that just really, if nothing else burns me, is mistreatment of people who are seeking help and don't know what to do. And then you giving them things based on what you think they should do, not based on what they need at that time. Somebody is coming for help. They don't need you putting them down, belittling them. It's just, yes, a lot of mistreatment. I think I told y'all about the time I was working in a psych hospital, and this little boy pulled the steel door off the hinges because the psych nurse was mistreating him. He had autism, and she was mistreating him, and all he wanted each night was his medicine, and he knew what time he was supposed to get it. So he would always go to the nurse's station and ask for his medicine, and she would always give him shit, like literally. I saw this, and I had talks with her as well. Like, you don't want to treat this kid like that. They know when you're mistreating him. So night after night, and one night he just got fed up, and he came over the desk. He jumped over the desk at her. It was like in a movie, a comedy, because he pulled her wig. She had one of them buns at the top of her head. Pulled the bun off. You saw it go across the room. The sliding chair that she was in went one way. She went the other way. She didn't know what to do. She's screaming, and I'm sitting there in the office across just watching it. I'm not getting into that. 12 years old. Call for a code. The guys come. The orderlies come. And before they knew it, this boy, with all his strength, had pulled the steel door. You know those doors they got to buzz you in to get back to the hospital, the big double doors? He had pulled one side of that off the hinges. That's how much strength he had and how much anger he had at him and frustration at this woman. She did this night after night after night after night for no reason. So people know when you mistreat. And then she's pissed at me. She was like, and you sat there and watched me and didn't do anything. And I just shrugged my shoulders. I'm like, I ought to be pissed at you because I got to do a report about what I saw. But, yeah, I've seen it. I don't like it. I usually speak up about it.
Have you heard about, I hate to switch the subject, but since we're talking about mental health, well, actually, it's two things I want to discuss. First, have you heard about the story about the gentleman named Daniel Prude? He was he obviously had mental health issues, and I guess his brother called the police because maybe he was having an episode, you know. And when the police got there, there's footage. This is not they're showing the footage. They got this man. He's sitting in the middle of the freaking street. He's in handcuffs, and they put I guess they called it a spit bag over his head. I ain't never heard of the police putting a spit bag over somebody's head. And then I guess they wrestled him to the ground and basically held him until he wasn't breathing anymore. Since when did they start doing that to mental health people, putting spit bags? I don't
They
get it.
had it on tight. Because he was butt naked in the middle of the street in the snow, and somebody had footage of it because it actually happened in March, and it happened to surface. Up on the net now. Like, what took so long for this to hit the net?
Right. Right.
But I'll tell you what's upset me about my black people is we're all out here screaming, you know, Black Lives Matter. But since the George Floyd, our murders have been at least, 10 to 20? And they're all young black boys. We're talking about people that's like 20 and under. It's insane. It's insane. You know, they have to really do something with these kids.
It starts at home. It starts at home, and it starts with the communication. If you know that your child has a problem, a lot of times as black people, we don't want to reach out for the help that we need and some of the help that is available. Now, I get that the resources are limited, and the resources that are available sometimes are substandard. I get it because I work in the field. I see it all the time. They're not putting the money where the money is supposed to be and providing the services that they're getting paid to provide. But a lot of it starts at home, and it's not. And the reason why a lot of it isn't is, one, because we're uneducated. And two, we just figure we don't reach out to other people to get help. We'll reach out to other people to borrow some money to support our crap, you know, but we won't reach out to other people for services that could be helpful. My child is not sick. There's nothing wrong with my child. He's just hard-headed. Yeah.
But it's more than that. It's deeper than that. That's just so deep. So we're at the top of the hour, so we're gonna take a quick break, and I want to come back and talk about this nursing home. Have you ever had to go to any nursing homes, Dr. Amarie, for what you do? Have you ever had to go into any of them?
I've done hospice work.
Okay. So I know me and Amarie, we worked at a nursing home together that's no longer open. So I want to talk about this nursing home that the feds have just raided. But we're going to take a quick music break. I promise I ain't going to be long because every time I'm long, y'all get to fussing and complaining and stuff. I'm going to take a quick music break.
Yeah, we've been
maybe
listening
2 or 3
to
songs.
6-minute songs. I don't want to do that. Nobody want to hear all that.
Y'all did me wrong. Y'all did me wrong. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna
make them 2 quick
break,
ones
y'all.
And fade them in. Like,
oh my God!
Play the whole song.
You know what? See, that's what happened with medical professional people. Y'all be trying to control stuff. So I'm gonna play these songs and I'll be right back. On the move, unscripted on purpose, y'all.
Yeah.
feel like I am moving when I'm standing still. You make what's fake seem so real. You got my heart that's still. You're the perfect start to the rest of my day. They say love is blind, girl. Everybody can't say. In love, sometimes we lose. I got a good thing. I count on you, babe. That stuff they talking about irrelevant. That's just hearsay. Oh, babe. Say I got another lover, but I don't roll that way. Baby, what I'm trying to say, it's all about me. It's all about you. Don't give a damn about what they say. Girl, I'm gonna love you till my last day. It's all about me. It's all about you. Girl, they don't know me, that's just hearsay. Promise I'll love you, girl, like always. Hey, can't stand it, baby, 'cause we're so happy with the life we live. Something they're all trying to feel. All of the guys wanna steal you. Cash, clothes, and cars they throw your way every day. Wasting time, girl. Can't they see? Oh, it's so pathetic what they do. So sad, they be trying to get with you. You got the kind of love that makes a grown man feel cool. Oh, babe, you do. To let them robbers
You have tuned in to another episode of On the Move Unscripted on Purpose. And tonight I got my ladies, Amarie and Dr. Amarie Stormm. See, that wasn't that bad. Those last two songs I played was Eugene Hunter Jr., Bermuda Breeze. That was the first one. And then the second one was Hearsay by I Am Calvin. Y'all can't say y'all didn't like that music. Come on now. Come on, give me some. Come on, give me some.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of tuned out. I was like, "Is it over yet?" But that wasn't bad. I mean, you know, the beat was good, but I can't really listen.
Oh my gosh! What about you, Amarie?
She told me
she didn't tune
out.
all the way out. She didn't tune all the way out. Okay.
No, she had 12 minutes. You cut it to 11 this time. She'll be back in 1 minute.
So, to get back to this topic about the nursing homes. So, you said you've had to go into nursing homes and, as far as dealing with hospice patients. Is that what you said?
Yeah, dealing with hospice and just with, in general, some, you know, elderly patients who dealing with some mental health stuff. And on the forensic side as well. Been in the nursing homes in a couple different capacities.
So this particular nursing home is out of Pennsylvania. And it says, I'm looking at the NBC News, and it says FBI raids Pennsylvania nursing home where hundreds caught coronavirus and dozens died. So I know, and whenever Amarie does come back to the phone, I hope let me make sure it's just not giving her issues with coming on, because it looks like there's a question mark. But I know she's unmuted, so I don't know if it's just the show or what. But anyway, dealing with nursing homes, I have noticed all across the country, because I've worked in nursing homes in Atlanta and in Chicago and in Ohio, you know what I'm saying, just to name a few, and they all have the same issue, which is understaffed. They're not staffed well. So not only do you probably have that, you're dealing with the elderly abuse, all that kind of stuff, but beyond that, there's not enough staff to deal with the patients. So when a pandemic happens, like what has happened, across the world or whatever, when dealing with these nursing homes, it's like they're already not staffed well. Some of the patients are already not being treated the way they need to be treated. But now we got a serious crisis going on where everybody is catching this stuff. Like, what has been your experience going into nursing homes in your job? Like, have you noticed the mistreatment or understaffing? Like, what has your experience been?
Yeah, that's been a long and then thing. Even my grandmother was a community advocate, so we would go over to the nursing home when I was a kid just to visit people. And walking in the door, you were faced with substandard conditions. And as a kid, I knew that. Just the smells and the sounds and the cries for help, and seeing the staff at the front desk, some of them, or at some desk, going on about their business and not paying attention. Oh, Miss Jones will be all right. She always does that. Well, if Miss Jones is crying and reaching out, she needs something. Whether that's somebody to sit there with her, whether that's to be changed, whether that's something good to eat. She needs something. Doesn't it make sense to try to feel that need? I get that some people are the way they are, and they're pretty difficult cases, but there's got to be some level of compassion. So yes, I've seen them be understaffed, undercleaned, undermanaged, underfunded, you name it. Yeah. Underregulated.
Underregulated, understaffed, under all that stuff. So it's like, I really feel like, America in general, they really need to look at these nursing homes and really make sure that these elderly patients are being taken care of. And I remember Kim saying that, because her mother was in an assisted living place, which is like an extension of a nursing home. Is like assisted living is where they still can kind of take care of themselves a little bit, but they need a little help. They're not to the point where they actually have to be, 24-hour care, or whatever. But I remember her saying during this pandemic that she couldn't even go and visit her mother. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you already know these nursing homes got issues, and now we got a major thing going on where the family really needs to be there to make sure that the patients are getting their care, and they can't even come in. They can't even be there at a time when they probably really, really, really need to be there.
Well, I know a lot of these nursing homes are supposed to have like a tablet so you can.
I told you she was counting the time. I told Patricia you was counting the time. She cut her songs a little short today. So.
You know what? I did. At the last minute, I had something I had to run and do, and I actually did. Because I'm like, she's going to play one more song. But the last song you played is all about me. I was digging that one. Like, I can hear listening to something like that at the club. That's the nice. It's a nice love song. I like it. But yeah, you got me because I did think you was gonna throw one more in there. I come back like, oh snap! They already talking. She didn't play the third song. I've been timing.
Oh my God!
He didn't caught me with my pants down, but
got him.
So, what is your experience? You remember when we used to work at the Brighton Place, Amarie? They're closed down
I'm
now.
going to write a book
but you
about
remember that
I mean, I figured can't nobody sue me. I'm going to write a book about the Brighton Place. I'm telling you, that's a bestseller.
Look, I
There's
already
so
have
much
a comedy
to go
skit.
down
I've
in the
been wanting to write
nursing
about them. I already had a comedy skit I wanted to write about the Brighton Place. I ain't lying. Of course, I would have named it something else.
It is understaffed, and I mean, and then they expect the staff to, like, even the nurses. At night, most of the people, you are not having as many emergencies, but at night, I am responsible. On at the Brighton Place, for instance, there were 3 floors. The second and third floor, these were more mental health patients that had other medical issues. The first floor was more of a skilled floor. So it was, 2 people to a room, about 50 rooms. So, at night, there's 2 nurses on that floor. But that's for each floor. It's 50 rooms, so we're looking at about 100 people. And there's a couple rooms that had 4 in there, and there was a couple rooms that was just a solo room. But you have one nurse responsible for a whole floor. Like, that's crazy. And like, well, most of the people are at bed at night sleeping, and that's true. But that's still, the ratio is way too many per one nurse. And then you may have 2, if you're lucky, 3 aides. And out of them 3, if you're lucky, if you got at least one that's really going to work, and not figured that they got their lineup set up for what they're going to watch on TV and who they're going to talk to on the phone. And, they get mad when somebody actually ring their call light. Like, whew, it was.
Remember when we used to get into it with them A's, Amarie? Remember the first floor when we used to get into it? We would go behind and mark the diapers and stuff, and they were mad because we were making them do their job, and they all Dr. Amarie, they all went to the DON to try to figure out ways to get me and Amarie fired because they were mad that we was making them do their freaking job.
Remember the aide tried to call me out? Well, I just feel like, you got to keep in mind America and beyond. I was new at nursing. Okay, I've never been new at being who I am. But there was one aide in particular, she was kind of a bully. She would tell the staff what she going to do, what she not going to do. And, some of the nurses, a lot of the, I, on the other hand, I got a little pissed off that she really felt like she was just going to bully the floor. And it's like when you go to a restaurant and you want warm, hot food, if that's what you order, if that's what you pay for, and they bring your food in cold, then like, oh well, that's horrible service. And that's an injustice, because you wouldn't go to a restaurant and eat cold food if you ordered a hot meal or eat warm food that's supposed to be cold. But this girl was in the habit of watching the Jerry Springer show at a certain hour, and then you always had somebody called off in the kitchen, so breakfast was always late, So, so when the trays hit the floor, even if I'm doing anything except for MedPass. So on MedPass, people have to have their medications, have to have it. And usually I'm done. Usually I get finished before the breakfast, before they're done either distributing the trays or picking up the trays. And I always help. I'm like, because teamwork makes the dream work. But we had this one particular aide that would just call you. She called me out, so the DON came up. And the DON was pretty passive. She always felt like there's a resolution for the problem and, oh, don't worry about it and it'll get better. Like, no. She has gotten away with her mouth and all of that for years. And then her thing was, you may be a nurse and anybody got pushed medication straight up and down the floor, and I've been here for years. I'm not going nowhere. Like, okay, okay. But when the DON, when your boss is there and she's still talking crazy, and your boss is pretending like she don't hear it, at that point, I felt like it's definitely time to take it in your own hands. So this young lady calls me out, like, oh, well, I just feel like, well, if you don't like how I do stuff, then when you clock off work, you can meet me across the street. We won't be on their property. And so I looked over at the DON. I'm like, did you not hear the threat? Well, that's not really a threat. I'm like, you're right. I'm like, and I feel like if you that froggy, then why clock out? I could just lock down my med tray, and I lock my med tray down, push it out the way. Like, we got nothing but air and opportunity. Don't call me out, okay? Don't do that, because I'm nobody's bitch. I'm not going to, don't. Call me out.
Now, mind you, Dr. Amarie, this was like the ghetto nursing home of the ghetto.
Yeah.
It was the ghetto. Huh?
They put them right in the hood.
Yeah, it was the ghetto nursing home.
One of my main problems with working at any nursing home is when you have somebody that feel like they've been there for a couple years or longer. And sometimes, to some people, to me, a couple of years isn't anything. But within a couple of years, you'd be surprised how many aides come and go. Because, it's a high turnover rate. Because for 58%.
Low pay, poor conditions.
Right. Like, they offer medical and dental, but it's not great. And, then you're paying above the minimum wage, but it's not enough. And if another job is offering you 75 cents more an hour, that's, to some people, that's worth jumping the ship for. They added that math. They're not looking at us just 75 extra cents. They done already incorporated how much more is that going to be in their paycheck. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can roll with that. And that's how most of them did. And so but my main problem has been with the people who've been there a long time, because those are the ones that you really don't, those are the ones who really felt like they were above what they had to do. Now, some of them that's been there a long time did their job, but whatever little habits that they developed, they planned on keeping them. And, since they've been there forever, there's nothing you can do because the administrative staff love them because they've been there 10, 15 years. So that has mainly been my main problem.
So, Dr. Amarie, without, giving out any names, for, of course, HIPAA reasons or whatever, what is the time that you had to get with somebody, a staff member or something in a nursing home situation, or have you ever had that experience where you had to get raw like Marie, like our Marie did? Like, have you ever had that experience?
Patricia, honey, I have that all the time in nursing homes, just about everywhere I go. Like I said, I'm on the outside of what people the norm of what people do. I can't keep quiet. So I've had to check many people, MDs, administrators, you name it, the techs, the nurses, about how they're going to treat. If a patient is on my watch, you will not mistreat them, because that's why I'm there. It is a blessing and a privilege for me to be able to walk on that journey with that person that's there under my care, and I take that seriously. So I'm usually checking somebody, or I'm quiet. So if I'm talking to the people around, that means I'm just not putting up with the shit. But yeah, they get the people in, you get the aides in, and they really don't know what that job entails. They really don't know that you need to have a sense of compassion. They really don't know that people are really, really sick, some of them really, really mentally ill. They've been that way all their lives, and that their families have just stuck them there under somebody else's care. So the people coming in don't know this. So their expectation coming in the door is that, they're going to be able to do what they do, and then they leave at the end of the day. And for the most part, that's exactly what happens. But they don't come in the door expecting that they're going to get yelled at, puked on, peed on, shit thrown at them, people whining, adults whining. All they don't expect that. And then the demand for what the intensity of how they have to perform, the rate, it's just so much for people. I understand it in both ways, and our government has a lot to do with it, because they signed the papers to let these people open up these nursing homes, being fully aware that they don't have the staff. The government doesn't have the staff to go through and do the checks that they need to check.
So
they don't do it.
I think another issue that they really need to address is this opiate issue. We talking about, the kids that's on drugs and all that kind of stuff. But what about these patients that they stick in these nursing homes and they put them on all these freaking drugs, these hard narcotics and all that kind of stuff, and get them addicted, and then these patients be like, where's my pain medicine? I'm supposed to get a pink one, an orange one, a green one, and it's not there. And then you got some of the nurses who are actually taking these patients' medication. You know what I'm saying? I remember one case in particular that there was one of the patients was on a whole bunch of different stuff, and the patient knew their medication, but there was a nurse or two that was actually taking this patient's medication. And so finally the DON, I guess after the patient kept complaining, they started checking the nurses and making them do a drug test, and one of the nurses came up positive. Like, you got nurses who be taking these patients' medication, and not only that, but you got patients that's on medication that they don't need to be on. They are not in pain anymore. They'll come up to the cart kicking it, like, hey, where my pain meds at? I know I get my pain meds at 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. Like, are you in pain? Yes, I'm in pain. What's your pain level? Shoot, I'm about a 10. You don't look like you about a 10. I ain't nobody about a 10 who's coming skipping 11 and kicking it like that.
Right. I've been on crime scenes where the nurse has taken so much of the patient's medication that the patient has died because they weren't getting the proper treatment. And so that now the nurse is facing criminal charges because of it. It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Yeah, this is really all bad. The time. That's bad. I remember when I was working at a nursing home, a very well-respected supervisor that I truly enjoyed her mentorship. I truly enjoyed. She helped me with a lot of the basics, and I had the utmost respect of her. And then while we were, I don't know how, and she's busted a couple people stealing, like, the patient's cigarettes, and, like, I can't stand a thief. And then I find out that she had been fired because someone who was in their final stages of cancer, and they wasn't talking, but they weren't getting their medication because she had been stealing it. And I just could not believe it. I was like, my whole thing is this person, when you try to move them over to prevent, every 2 hours to prevent any breakdown, and the yelping and the whelping, it just sends electricity through your body like, oh, I don't want to hurt you. How can you steal this person's pain medicine? This person is already going to die, and they're just providing comfort care, and you're stealing the medicine. And had a doctor, when she went out, was like, well, she really shouldn't be in this type of pain, and pulled lab right there, and they're like, there it is in her system. It's very weak, though. And if they're supposed to get this medication around the clock, why is it so weak? This should be more of this in their system than it is. It's a very small percentage. If they're taking this every 6 hours, it's just not safe. And that's just really sad. It's sad that it comes back.
Yeah, it is sad. They really need to regulate these nursing homes. It's like they just let them open them up and they just let them do whatever the heck they want to do. And it's the patients that suffer. Like, and even the doctors, like, why are you still, this person had surgery 6 months ago. Why are they still on that same level of narc? Why have you not come in and adjusted that? So they're in rehab, meaning they're there at the nursing home for only a certain period of time. They're not there for life or whatever, but they go home addicted to pain medication because the doctor never took time to do a medical review and change the dosage.
Or try to wean them off. And then they wonder, because the ingredients that say in Percocet is the same ingredient, a lot of the same ingredients that's in like heroin. So the addiction, and you're going to get it, and since your doctor, who legally prescribed it for you, is no longer prescribing it for you because doctors are losing their license left and right. So now the name of the game is CYA, cover your A at all costs, because eventually you could end up losing your license. You have a lot of doctors who are afraid to do that, but that's why they have pain clinics. And that's what the pain clinic do. When you have some pain clinics that say you go in there, don't flush the toilet, and drop, and you have some you have to leave the door open. You have some where they sit in there. Like, wow, you sit in here? That is cray-cray. That is just crazy. But, yeah. So, and then you have a lot of people who I don't know why, but they don't want to go to the pain clinic. They rather deal with their doctor. Because the very first time you pop positive at the pain clinic, they discontinue giving your medication. You're up in the national database. You're not getting no more medicine. You're done.
Yeah, that's deep. That's really deep. I really hope that they start regulating these nursing homes and make it to, for one, like you said, the AIDS. It's too much on the AIDS. I mean, think about it. You are responsible for, like you said, Marie, when we was at the Brighton place, there might be 100 people on one floor, okay? And you got 2 aides that's supposed to be checking people, turning people, doing all this stuff for a freaking, so let's say maybe not 100 people are, dependent, you know what I'm saying? But you might have 30 of them that are, and a couple of them might be dead weight, can't move, or nothing, paralyzed, whatever. That's a lot of wear and tear for 2 people. 2 people. And then you only want to pay them $8 an hour, $9 an hour. That's craziness. It's just absolute craziness to me.
Like, what are you on? Why is this all you're giving me? What is the problem here? But that is the truth. Yeah, it's want to pay for nothing. And that's just sad.
It's really sad. It is. It's really, really sad. And then the sexual abuse. I heard of one. There was a case in Chicago, I'll never forget, where a comatose, I think it was Chicago. It may not be Chicago. It might have been another state. But I do remember it was a comatose lady who was in a nursing home who popped up pregnant. How is she pregnant? and she's been in the nursing home for at least a good year. How the hell? And she not even able to talk, move, or nothing. How the hell did she end up pregnant?
This was what, an older lady?
I can't remember if it was an older lady or a middle-aged lady. I just remember that it was a comatose patient who popped up pregnant in this nursing home, and then come to find out that the male aide who had been taking care of her, whenever that was his assignment, was sleeping with her. Yeah, it's craziness. Nursing home is craziness, y'all. It's craziness. Watch your family. Make sure you watch your family. Thoroughly check out these nursing homes. I would do reviews. I would check reviews, you know what I'm saying, and see what their review is or whatever before you take your family member to a nursing home. Make sure, and if you walk in and you smell urine from the gate, if you walk in and the minute you hit the hall, all you smell is urine, that's a warning sign. That's a warning sign because that means that people are not being changed.
Not being cared for, the trash is not being taken out, the linen's not being washed properly. But I mean, a whole number of things. It could be wrong.
It's you really got to, really, really don't just pick, the nursing home in the hood and just stick your grandma or your grandpa or your cousin or whatever in there. Make sure you check. And then, before COVID-19, we were telling people, go and check on your family. Don't just drop them off and don't come back except for once a year. Come on now.
Right. And that's no way to die. That's not dying with dignity.
Right.
Yeah. It's a whole other. It's a lot.
When I worked in the home, that's what we saw, though. We saw a lot of people. Like you may see, there's a very small percentage whose family comes and visit, like unless it's a holiday. But even during the holiday or the person's birthday, there's some clients that their family never came to visit, not ever.
Mm-hmm.
That also makes you wonder. It also makes you wonder, and this is speaking to parents right now, that also makes you wonder, how did those individuals, and I'm sure it's not everybody's story that family didn't come to visit them, but for some, for a large majority, you wonder, how did they treat their children coming up? Like, what was missing that when the person became elderly, their kids didn't give a damn about them and just dropped them off and be like, all right, then we'll see you some cookies on Christmas. Like, you got to treat your kids right, because remember that your children are not going to always be children, and the roles are going to be reversed, and you are going to need them, because as we get older, we all know we go back to almost an infancy state, especially if you are sick. If you're sick and elderly, it's like you go back to a state where you actually have to be taken care of as if you are an infant. So
the whole circle of life.
Treat your children right. treat your children right. You know what I'm saying?
It's over here, never mind. And that's very true, because when I worked at a nursing home, where was I? In West Virginia, there was this lady, as she could be. To make a long story short, when the doctor said there's nothing he can do, hospital was in, called the family. She had a surviving son and daughter, and the son just said, hey, just call me when she's dead, and we'll send for her things. And I was appalled, because she was one of my favorite. She was always nice, always out trying to feed the squirrels and just enjoying the nature, and just a very nice lady. So after she passed, I really did not want to call them, but I did, against my manager. I did, because that was my job. I had to. And when I called, him and his sister, came out, and I was angry. I was very angry at them. I didn't know them, but I had not seen that in my family. So to me, that was just inexcusable. Like, oh my God, this is your mom. And I guess the daughter caught, and the son went on in there. He was, and he went on in the room, But the daughter was like, look, you don't know what type of life we've been through. You don't know our story. You don't know what we've been through. So how she's acted in her latter years, I don't know, because we never visit her because she never had time for us. And when she did, it was only to beat us. She said we were a real-life mommy dearest situation. So I said when I grew up and I got an opportunity to get away from her, I would get away from her and never ever come back. She's like, and that's what I did, and that's what my brother did. But we were completely mistreated. We were neglected. We were abandoned for her in her high society life and her love for her men. Just like, so that's who she sacrificed us for. And, you know, I didn't look back. When I got old enough to move out, you know, and it's crazy because that's here a whole different side to this woman that I never would have known. I still could not condone it. Not that it was for me to condone, but I was able to understand. I understand there's two sides to every story. That's what I grew to understand, that it's two sides to every story. And even though the lady was the sweetest apple pie to us, obviously she may not have been that sweet to her biological children because they, when we told them she was dying, you know, usually your family member will rush up there to last breath, but she didn't even bother. Neither one bothered. And then they took a couple of vitamins, and then they said to donate the rest of her belongings because neither one of them wanted it.
Oh, that's sad. That's so sad. That is so sad. But in the same, those children need to understand it. Forgiveness. People need to. I mean, even though their mom may have mistreated them or didn't do what she was supposed to do or went through hard times or whatever the situation was, at what point do you continue to hate them? Like, forgiveness is the key.
Forgiveness
you know
doesn't mean that you forgiveness doesn't mean that you then turn around and have to be bothered with that person that mistreated you, whether it was your mama or your daddy or anybody else. That's not what forgiveness means. So, you know, if that mom was mean and nasty and cruel to those children, they don't have to choose to be. I mean, that's a whole other. That's for another show that we go down that line. But you don't have to be further like victimized by dealing with that other person's crap just because they decide that now they want to act right when they've left you emotionally and physically scarred. You know, my abusers, when I think about them, whether they were close family members or otherwise, when I think about them, I go, well, you know, it doesn't give me that angst when I think about what they did to me. But in no way am I going to lie and say, oh, yeah, they're on their deathbed, I'm going. No, that ain't my role. Leave that to somebody else, somebody that perhaps they treated.
I can understand that more if it's like, you know, just somebody. But I'm talking about your parents, like your mother and your father. Like even, I mean, I understand, you know, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to be dealing with them and all that kind of stuff. And I do understand that, you know, and some might be horrific where they just can't even be in their presence and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I get that. I understand. But I guess I just feel like if it's your mother and your mother or your father and they're at their end stages of their life, regardless of what happened when you were a kid or younger, I mean, you just turn your back on them, like you don't forgive them enough to at least make sure that
if your daddy raped you, or if your mom left you for dead, or if you know some other type of physical or emotional abuse, you like, yeah, because you're dying, then I'm gonna put all that aside. Quite work like
so
that. Your mental health doesn't work that way.
I must be a different type of person because I went through the molestation and abuse as a child, you know, by my biological father. I went through horrific childhood. I mean, like one of them flowers in the attic type situations, like I still got the physical scars, but I was able to forgive. And now that he is at an older state, dialysis, blind, all that kind of stuff, I just, my heart won't allow me to hold anger to not make sure that he's good. Like I'm not able to do that, and that doesn't mean that I don't still have some type of emotional scar here or there, or whatever. But I just chose forgiveness, and I just chose love, and in spite of that, I didn't want to do to him what he did to me. I just didn't want to do that. I want to make sure that he has the best care, even though I will admit that I could not have him in my home and take care of him in that kind of way, because emotionally I wouldn't be able to deal with that. However, I made sure that he had the best care. I made sure he's taken well care of. I go and pick him up sometimes to Dallas and drop him off. I mean, I have forgiven him to the point where I want to make sure he's good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it just depends on the person, and I guess their level of being able to forgive and move forward and still want their parent to be in the best care and all that kind. I guess it just depends on the person. But for me, I wasn't like that. I'm not like that.
Yeah, but I've noticed that I've seen a lot of children that grew up in just horrific abusive relationships with their mom. Like the mom, they choosing their lover over the kids, or letting the lover beat them, or just something like that, or just not being a good mother. But I have always found it so astonishing how children can forgive their parents. And I'm thinking, well, every kid must forgive their parents, until I saw an episode on children that kill. Some kids have been, their mind has been beaten and tormented so much that, it's like a switch to off and they can't convert back. And then a lot of times, some of these same parents, that may raise their children like that. Some may have been young, had no idea what it was going to be like to be a parent. Some of these parents, which would put them in a 30-year range, which would be around my kids' age. There was also right around the time, crack came out in the 80s, but it was big by the 90s, and Primos. And, so these are drug babies, these crack babies that grew up, not all of them, but that grew up and had children of their own. Or a lot of them may be mental health. And, because mental health didn't really get the recognition that it needed until just a few years back. So decades back, it was like, oh, no, he just tripping, or he just wants that attention. And it's really something that's preventing their mind to say, okay, this is not normal, and they truly believe in their heart, mind, and soul it is normal. And now you didn't add it, having kids, to this factor, and so now, your children are genetically made up between you and the other absentee parent. So the other absentee parent, if the parent is absent, the parent is absent. But if they're, if that's the case, then you got, your genetics is combined from these two people. So you're going to genetically have some things from the people, but all in all, though, most kids I've seen that grew up with horrible moms, or somebody I would never be the mother, not passing what I guess I am passing judgment, oh, that's just, I would never do my kids like that. But these are the same kids. They will ride for their parents. They will ride or die for them. They love their parents. Children will forgive their parents. They may have to get out the anger and everything, but I'd have to say the majority of the kids just really love their parents. They're angry. They're hurt. They feel betrayed. They act out on it. But there's something about this, unconditional love, regardless. I've seen it within my family, so I don't. Dr. Amarie,
yeah.
This is your area of expertise, amongst other areas.
I think Dr. Amarie, I know you ain't got on that bike already.
No, I'm still here. I like to hear different perspectives, so my ears be open.
No, I can understand, because you have some children who, like, for instance, with all that I went through as a child, or whatever, and when I became an adult and had kids and went through hard times, my kids went through hard times with me. And it wasn't until recently that, because all this time I was just like, in spite of what we've been through, my kids been there, we've been tight, we made it through the storm together, But when they became older, they started speaking out how they really felt all the time, like, I was mad because we went through this, or I was angry because we went through that. Not because I abused them, but because I was going through my own storm. And the children that we have don't have no choice but to go through that storm with us, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? If you're a mother dealing with issues with homelessness, or if you're in an abusive relationship and you're married to an abusive person who is abusing you and the kids is going through that storm with you. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't necessarily mean that the mother or if it's the father is a bad person. They just was going through their own storm. And and sometimes the children, they're silent while you're going through the storm, but when they get older, they tell you how they feel, you know, and it hurts. But should children hold that against their parents? Not for the ones who, I'm not talking about the ones who the parents have been abusive. I'm talking about the ones who the parents have gone through the trials and tribulations of life, homelessness, or, you know, they was battling addiction. They love their kids. You know, they was good to their kids, but that drug was calling their name. Like, do you think should the children hate the parents because of the storms that the parents went through?
I feel like every person, and I believe this with everything, I feel like every person has the right to respond the way they respond. It doesn't mean that I agree with it. But my storm is not your storm. If you come and you step on my foot, and I'm making it simplistic here, but if you come and you step on my foot, Patricia, they scream murder. And you're like, I just stepped on your foot a little bit. But then you go over and you step on Amarie's foot. It's like, oh, that wasn't shit. I don't know why the doc is over there screaming bloody murder. That wasn't nothing. You can't tell me how to experience my pain. You can't tell me what that feels like to me. So I work with people who have, you know, their parents have locked them in the closet for days and haven't fed them and let the boyfriend rape them and run a train and all kinds of stuff. And those people are the best people to their parents that you're like, how could you ever look at this person again? And then I've had people who have emotionally abused their child, cussed them out, every other word was you know, dirty bastard, all of this, and those people will never speak to their parents again. I learned a long time ago to let go of the expectation that another person is supposed to and going to react the way that I see from the outside that they should react. I can't call it. Yeah. I cannot be the one that dictates how that pain from that incident, no matter how big or small it might be in my eyes, but that's from my eyes. We all have our own pain thresholds, whether that be emotionally, physically, spiritually, or otherwise. We all have our own. Even when that comes to abuse, people are like, girl, listen, if that guy over there called me out of my name, he called me a bitch, I'm out. Right? That's my pain threshold. I'm not dealing with that. Another person might feel like, oh, yeah, that's a normal everyday thing. That's nothing. Are you going to walk away for that? But to me, in my mind and my psyche, that's really going to mess me up. Right? It triggers some other things in my brain. So just really learning to let go of those expectations has been helpful for me. People say, how can I do what I do every day? I'm on crime scenes. I'm doing forensic work. I'm seeing people die. I'm seeing people come, people go. They say, well, how can you do it every day? Because I don't have the expectations that they're going to react the way I think they should react. I come in, my role, wherever I go, I'm there for support and encouragement. And so
I can imagine that your job is, I mean, the job of a nurse or aide or anybody in civil work, you know, is deep. You know what I'm saying? But I think even more so for, you know, a psychiatrist, psychologist, or anybody who, even with your job, forensic science, you know what I'm saying? All that, I would think that, yeah, I applaud you, because it's like you have to absorb all those different energies every day. You know what I'm saying? And deal with the mental part of that. I think a lot of times people don't look at the caregivers and what they have to go through. Even family members who decide to keep their family at home, and they have to go through, like, especially for those who have been recently paralyzed. They were they were walking around, they were doing their thing, whatever. They got in a car accident, shot, whatever the situation was, and they became paralyzed. A lot of paraplegics in the very beginning, they're angry. You know what I'm saying? They're angry, and they take that out on the caregiver a lot of times because you usually take your pain out on the people that are closest to you. So, that's deep. Like, I know that you probably go through a lot, and I know you do too, Marie, because you're still in the home health, so you're walking into their homes, and that's a whole different beast because you're not just dealing with the patient, you're dealing with the family too. And if the family crazy as hell and got issues, you got to walk in and deal with all that energy.
Girl, us mental health people, we don't get no recognition. You got National Police Day, you got Bring Your Nurse some Flowers Day, you got the Doctor's Day, you got the Teachers Bring Her Apple Day.
Hot Dog Day.
You got nothing.
Right, they don't have a special day for
but who do the police call when they need help? Who the police call? They call us. Who does the fire department call when they need help? They call us. The judges, who do they call? Us. The nurse, us. I got a wide range of people on my caseload.
Wow.
Doctors, nurses, police officers, you name it, dog catchers, veterinarians, all kinds of folks. Who they call? Mental health.
So how do you, and I don't know if I've asked you this before as we're going into our last 4 minutes, just tell me real quick, how do you decompress? I'm curious how you decompress. And then, Marie, I want you to tell me how you decompress in like a minute. How do you decompress, Dr. Amarie, after all that?
I mean, sex when I can get it. Exercise. Exercise. Spending time with people that love and care about me, that support me and nurture me. Yeah, but a lot of physical activity, kind of thing.
Yeah, sex is definitely on top of that list. How about you, Marie? How do you decompress?
I feel like as long as you stay well-rounded, and that's what I've been trying to do, because for years it's been work, then family, and then everything else. So I eliminated that, and I decided when I get off work, unless it is something that is due that day that, cannot wait, I try not to bring my work home with me. But I feel like as long as you stay well-rounded, go in with a good attitude, understand if this person is flipping out, this is part of their mental health issue. Because when you can set that aside, then you do well. I walked into my client's house today, and she was like, "Oh, Roberta, got something for you." I'm like, "Oh, what you got?" And I'm washing my hands. You first get there, you wash your hands. Why did she hit me with a belt like she was my mother? Like 3 times. The third time I had to snatch the belt. I was just like, "I got you. I'm a real G. I got you." I wanted to stop the shit, and I was like, "Okay, you gotta draw back." And I mean, my legs was really hurting. I haven't had my spank in decades, so it was. You just have to remember, like, they ain't quite make it to the elevator, to the penthouse, and you just have to look at it like that, But to me, you stay well-rounded and stay prayed up. Stay prayed up.
How do you decompress, Patricia?
Huh?
How do you
decompress? I think that for me, I have to, even with dealing with all these different artists and different people, and sometimes when I do the interviews and I get into talking to them, we go deep, and I hear a lot, I learn a lot. It's just a lot. So a lot of times I have to shut everything down. When I get to that, when I get to that point where I'm like, okay, this is too much, I have to shut everything down social media, phone, everything. And I have to spend time meditating, listening to spiritual music, Christian music, whatever. And I just have to be by myself to release all that before I can deal with my family or whatever. Because when I come home, they don't give a damn what I've been doing all day long. You know what I'm saying? When I was doing nursing and even when I do now, they okay, I got interviews and they're like, all right then, but this is what I need, or whatever. So I have to decompress myself as far as just having a moment to myself, and then meditating or whatever, and then deal with the family or whatever. But this has been a deep topic. We only got 38 seconds left, and I hate for stuff to cut down on us right at the end. So I love y'all, and I hope that y'all have an awesome week. Peace and love on the Move Unscripted, ladies, and until next week, I love y'all.
Peace and love. Over.